Crossovers. Whether you love them or hate them, it is undeniable that they are awesome. The coming together of two or more iconic characters and sharing an adventure together is just what a lot of fans of their respective series would love to see. But usually, after the adventure is over, their respective parties go back to their worlds, and due to the nature of these crossovers, they are not canon to the series. So when the crossover is over, none seem to remember what actually happened, what took place. Adventures set back to how everything was before the crossover took place, and both parties don't even acknowledge that they even existed to begin with. But why is that? Like, a real reason as to why that is, beyond that it is not canon, they don't want the other stories influencing theirs. And today the series in question are the Sonic series, Legend of Zelda series, and to a lesser extent the Yoshi's Island series. Hello investigators, and welcome back to another mystery where we will attempt to answer a question today, and that question is, why don't Sonic Link seem to remember the crossover as portrayed in Sonic Lost World? I was off with saying why I didn't necessarily include Yoshi, because Yoshi really wasn't present in the Yoshi's Island stage. Since he wasn't present, he never saw Sonic, so we can't really speak to that. Sonic would save baby Yoshis, but we cannot confidently with any degree of certainty that they would even remember Sonic even being there. I mean, you all know how, like, when you were back literally just born babies, you don't remember anything from that up until maybe around 3 or 4. That'd be 3 or 4 years, or Yoshi equivalent, after Sonic has already left, so there's nothing to really remember. However, Link is present, as we see multiple times. In fact, he's there pointing, helping, and guiding Sonic throughout the adventure, if not just showing up to say hello, how are you doing. So for now we will be focusing on them, but we will touch a bit on Yoshi as well. But I know what you're thinking, well, you already answered the question earlier. It's a non-canon crossover, a wee bit of fun between the companies so that they can have a little bit of extra promotion, correct? I mean, mystery solved, go home, pack it in. I mean, it's not really anything here to go off of. And if we were speaking purely on the real world, you would in fact be correct. But what we're looking for is an in-universe way to explain as to how and why these things happen. And I think I've managed to do just that. So if you'll bear with me. See, I believe how these two are even connecting beyond the sheer fact that the companies are just like, yo, put this in my game, but earnestly have to be the realm of dreams, like a psychic plane. I know we're thinking, oh, it's all just a dream, it's all made up and whatnot, that they dreamed about it. No, I'm not saying that at all. That would be kind of dumb and not worth making a video of. But what I am saying is perhaps the dream acted as a gateway to each other's world so they could have these experiences to begin with. That isn't actually so unheard of. For example, in Sonic and the Secret Rings, it opens up with Sonic taking a nap and him waking up in the storybook world of the Arabian Nights, a completely separate, completely different world, arguably multiverse from the one that he came from. So I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that this is a possibility. Not convinced? I understand. So we will go to a pretty old game and one I actually kind of enjoy in Sonic Shuffle. In Sonic Shuffle, Sonic and his friends go to the dream world called Imaginary World to stop an evil entity called Void. But that part isn't important. What is important is what Imaginary World is. And Imaginary World is, as described in the English instruction manual, a world in another dimension where Sonic and his friends will embark on a new adventure, a world where dreams and reality coexist. Imaginary World is held together by the power of the Pressure Stone, a jewel created from the hopes and dreams of living people in different dimensions. One day, Monster Hunter's Void appeared in Imaginary World and shattered the power of the Pressure Stone. Without the power of the Pressure Stone, Imaginary World is faced with the danger of unraveling the very seams of existence. So, Imaginary World, this psychic dream world creating the hopes and dreams of people across the multiverse. You know, Sonic has a multiverse because Sonic and Blaze, Imaginary World, are all connected in this dream, in this state. Again, more proof we see Sonic interact with Knights a lot with the Sega series. I mean, a lot. So it stands to reason they could do it with a different dimension as well. So say the Legend of Zelda and Yoshi's Island dimensions as well. I'm thinking that still doesn't really prove anything. Well, I kind of think it does, because they're connected in this dream, and we have seen even in the Legend of Zelda series, powerful entities who dream making whole other realities. Case in point, the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, or as it is known by its Japanese title, The Legend of Zelda The Dreaming Island. That is a whole island, a whole new biome made from an entity's dream and brought into the real world dream coexisting where they meet. Not too far-fetched now, is it? Now, in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, I think I have to go give you a play-by-play as to what happens. Link wakes up on this island. He has to go wake up the Windfish so he can leave. He does that, but along the way, he finds out that he's actually in a dream. Think about the southmost temple in the mural of the Windfish state. To the finder, the Isle of Koholint is but an illusion. Human, monster, sea, sky. A scene on the lid of a sleeper's eye. Awaken the dreamer. The Koholint Island will vanish much like a bubble and a needle. Cast away, you should know the truth. Again, it's no big secret. The Koholint Island is not but the dream of the Windfish. Wake him up at the end of the game, bam, and disappears, goes on his merry way back to Hyrule. Everything's good, right? None of it was truly there to begin with, all just made up in his head. Not correct, because we see in the best ending of the game, we see that Marin is present there, depending on the version it is. Marin was born on Koholint Island, so she should disappear with it. And yet, there she is, a seagull flying away, just like she wanted. Or with wings of a seagull flying away, just as she wanted to do. It's what she truly just made up, because if she just made up, she wouldn't be there. Yet, here she is, flying about, flying away. Another thing, she could just be a figment of Link's imagination, remembering in the dream that that's what she wanted to become. She could fly wherever she wanted to and sing and flitter about. And that we have to take into consideration, investigators. In this, we must appreciate all angles, accept all perspectives to get to the truth, which oft lies somewhere in between all of these. I know you're thinking, at this point I must sound crazy bringing in all these miscellaneous, not really connected examples to prove my point. But as I remind you, truth is in fact stranger than fiction. And the truth is, in the Majora's Mask, Link wound up in Termina, thanks to the machinations of the Skull Kid. Termina is a completely separate dimension, another world from regular Hyrule, where we usually play the game at, as is in Twilight Princess World of the Twilight. I bring this up saying going into different dimensions through random portals that kind of sort of appear places, or even predetermined portals. So while they're a far-fetched idea, again in Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, Sonic wound up in a different dimension, the Twilight's cage with him and his friends. I don't believe it's just sheer coincidence. We saw again in Sonic Adventure. Nicole swirls around the characters, she puts them, I think, potentially back in time, back into the past, or some facsimile of such constructed by her power, which is kind of tied to the Master Emerald at this point. And how does it appear? It appears as if they are sleeping. Even a robot such as Gamma is affected by this. I don't think it's far-fetched at all that this could be the case, like through the medium of the dream world, which connects beings across the multiverse, imaginary world, could legitimately do this. Not only that, we saw Legend of Zelda. The three golden goddesses, when they made Hyrule, their power echoed out throughout creation and made a bunch of other worlds, a bunch of other existences, and gods and powers and all sorts of crazy stuff, which could have echoed out throughout the infinite void and maybe connected the world of Legend of Zelda with imaginary world, and through that, Sonic world. I know it sounds a little out there. Once you think about it, it makes it kind of sort of sense. I mean, we have an entire game called A Link Between Worlds, for Pete's sake. I don't think this is far-fetched at all. I mean, even in real life, people use dreams as a metaphor for escaping to different worlds, fantastical, foreign, and new. And in H.P. Lovecraft's works, the dreamlands of Kadath even exists in a whole other realm, in the dream realm, that is bridged by sleep, because it's the dream world. But these worlds are no less real, no less alive and full of life and people and beings, much like Legend of Zelda Sonic. The thing, but that kind of falls apart with Sonic and the Black Knight, doesn't it? Because he was summoned there by Merlina. Not necessarily. They said Link fell into Termina. He went through a portal proper to get to the world of the Twilight. Again, he entered a different dimension thanks to the Windfish dreaming it into being, and it's been being there. Didn't have to just be asleep to get there. In Sonic and the Black Knight, he was called there, but these worlds were already linked, already connected. Though it means we don't know. Through Merlina's magic, presumably. It could be some other force. She could have used the imaginary world as an intermediary, but that's too far deep into their own speculation without any evidence or proof, so I will put that one off to the side for now. To this point, probably a lot of viewers thinking, well, you're saying it was all just a dream, it's not real on anyone's part, it just didn't happen. But you said that you weren't going to say that. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying ultimately is, much like with the Dreamlands of Kadath, the dream, the sleep, bridges the two worlds together. Again, in Unknown Kadath, he goes there, the main character goes to Kadath eventually at the end of a long journey, finds it empty, and then wakes up, i.e. leaves, because he's in a dream world, and to leave a dream, you wake up, but the event still happens. The god he finds there in Kadath is angry that his ultimate plan didn't work out. So those things truly happened. They weren't just made up. And similar to, again, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening and to the Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, these things actually happened. Because they entered the medium of sleep or through a portal into a story or a dream doesn't mean they didn't actually happen. So the bridging of these two via the dream, I think makes a lot of sense. And that's how they interacted. That's how they got to know each other, as it were. That's how Link was able to direct Sonic as to where to go. And because this is still through the medium of the dream, so Sonic got a spiffy tunic, but upon awaking, it vanished because he left that realm where that tunic existed. Just kind of went with it. Again, it is still through the medium of a dream, and like a dream, that will vanish upon the waking. Again, you see Link riding a Loftwig and a Hyrule Castle, which, as I checked, he didn't really do in Skyward Sword. How does one explain that? Well, again, this is world kind of connected to the medium of dreams, and in this world that's connected to the medium of dreams, the dream element is still there, so he has a Loftwig there. And I think, well, how to have a Loftwig, especially if that Link never rode a Loftwig, or doesn't even know what a Loftwig even is. Well, we see from examples like the Hero Shade that the past instances of Link can be separate from him, so it stands to reason that he also recalls some of their memories, and that could just be the memory of a Loftwig that he rode as the first hero. Far-fetched? I'm aware. But again, we have to consider every possibility and every angle in this. We can't just look narrowly at one perspective. Speaking of looking narrowly at one perspective, I think we started to, at long last, start talking about Yoshi, or in this case, the Mario portion of it all. How do they fit into all of this? Because they're the real outliers. Okay, if you want to believe imaginary world, golden goddesses, connected worlds, you know, all that, fine. But how the Frel does Yoshi's Island fit into this entire scheme? Can you spend like the past, like what, almost 15 minutes talking about those two? So how do they fit? Again, we're dealing with a power, the dream, on a multiversal scale. On such a high scale, when it's being fueled by things across different dimensions, across the multiverse, this is also doable. This is also possible. Case in point, Super Mario 2 or Doki Doki Panic, if you're that guy. All takes place in a dream, right? The sleep, defeat King Wart, it's all in a dream. And yet we have Bob-Bombs, Pokies, Birdos, which weren't about before this game even occurred, and have since become staples. I know what you're thinking, well, that's just the developers wanting to reuse the game designs and these enemies because they thought they were fun and cool and interesting. Which, again, and if we're talking about the Wii World, to be 100% correct, but in the medium of the story, I think one of the most damning pieces of evidence would be Phanto. We see in multiple different Nintendo properties, most notably Kirby. And where does that game take place? On a planet called Popstar, in a different dimension, in a place called Dreamland. You could be thinking, well, again, they just wanted to reuse it, which is, again, possible. However, I also think that perhaps from this world, this medium of the dream, they can traverse these different dimensions, traverse these different planes to get there. It's Phanto to be able to do that. And it's the same thing that happened with Yoshi, well, Yoshi's Island. So that's Sonic got there. This medium of the dream, it connected his world and the Yoshi's Island world together to be able to do this. I know what you're thinking, but that's an enemy called Two-Face. They're not the same at all. Maybe not the same, but similar. But you can get Phanto's mask in Kirby Superstar Ultra in the Great Cave Offensive. Coincidence or intentional? Who truly knows? That bit I don't have, but I do think with all the connection from the dream world to the different dimensions, to the enemies coming into being, to the connection between the Phantom Mask and Phanto, and the presence of the DLC in general, I think it's too much of a through line to just write off as a mere coincidence. Now, for evidence we have compiled, then the question, why don't they remember anything about it? Because even the Dreamlands of Kodal, they still remembered about it, and the god was seething about it, correct? And yes, you're correct. And I never said they didn't actually remember. They just don't talk about it because, again, when they exited that connection of the dream, perhaps they thought it was a dream. They didn't think it was important to tell anyone because, well, no one's really going to believe me anyway. Hell, even when Sonic told Amy about his adventures in Arabian Nights, he ran him down with the Pika Pika hammer. I don't think he wants to get hit with a hammer. Link doesn't really talk, and Yoshi can't talk at all. He's a green dinosaur, except for that one Yoshi from Paper Mario, but we're not talking about him now, are we? So I think that's about does it for this investigation. Again, I cannot 100% definitively say whether they do or don't remember, yay or nay. I cannot truly or definitively say these worlds were connected, but I think there's enough evidence to suggest that, hey, maybe they actually are, and that's what happened. That's what we're here to discuss, that possibility in this instance. So until next time, my intrepid investigators, see you then, and have a nice evening.